Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Intro to Manufacturing. Today, we're going to be talking with Mr. Huber about some questions that you guys had for him. We'll start out with the first question. What is your career background and what led you to become a CTC instructor?
Well, first of all, it's good to be here. Happy to talk to you folks. So right off the bat, I am a graduate of the same program, CTC, back in '97 under Mr. Joe Galley, and that's 1997 for all you young folks. That's that far long ago. But I sat in the same seats and I finished the same program. After getting out in industry right away, working, I furthered my education, got a certification in commercial diving where I did underwater welding, salvage work, demolitions work, ship's husbandry, and quite a lot of work in that for a few years. Decided to get back out of that and go back into welding full time due to life changes as they happen. But I got back into it and worked my way up to become a field foreman. I worked in shops, worked in sanitary food work, worked in foundry work, production, name it, and doing one-off work, custom work, just name it. And then I got the opportunity to become a field foreman and actually run crews out in the field doing install, mill writing, installing big heavy equipment, and really flourished in that. But then decided to try my hand at aerospace, working my back more or less being just another line welder, but working in aerospace, and got to work on quite a few important projects. I have stuff that's on the space station, stuff that's orbiting our planet on satellites. So I got to work on some SpaceX stuff. Got to actually talk to Elon Musk in person myself once. It was kind of cool. Stuff like that. I really got involved in some of that. But my calling came back to me to be here, to be an instructor. After I got my certified welding inspector certificate, was doing some of that work on the side. This opportunity came to me, and teaching was an important thing to me, and wanting to give back what I learned as students of my over 20 years in the industry. So I'm bringing a pretty big skill set to the table that I'm sharing with you young folks.
Okay, that's great. Next question is, how much of the task list is gas tungsten arc welding?
A good chunk of it, and I say that we have 46 tasks out of our task grid, and there's almost 170 total. Now that said, 46, doesn't seem like a lot in that big number, but if you break it down with all the things we cover, it is a pretty good chunk. And that reason is we cover fillets and grooves, as well as on ferrous and non-ferrous metals. So you're covering everything from steel to stainless steel to aluminum, and different materials, and some materials in between. We talk about titanium and some other alloys, but the difference is you're cutting, working with those. So the task grid opens up pretty heavy with TIG and does require a lot of hands-on and hand-eye coordination. You ladies that are coming to the program, you actually have an advantage. You actually do better in that to start, just because of natural ability that women do have with that. But short of that, we cover it pretty heavy. But most folks, by the time they get to that, are doing pretty well. That's a more advanced skill we get to, and we find you folks move through pretty quickly.
Okay, good. Next, what are the expectations that a student needs to achieve to be able to go out on co-op?
So the first off the bat is you have to have a B or higher within the first and by the end of the first marking period to even qualify to go out, as well as your attendance has to be a 95% or better. So if you lay it out in the first marking period, that means a day and a half at most. You cannot be in the room, so you have to have good attendance. Those things are the criteria that are required for the program. The bigger picture is Mr. Long and I will have to recommend you. So those things said, you can have those things, but if we don't feel you show the maturity level, the work ethic, everything needed to get out there, you talk to us. The big question, Mr. Long, I will always ask you is, if you're going to go apply for a job for API or advanced placement internship or co-op, ask if we will say something nice about you, because in the end, we will get a call from that employer and asking, and if we don't think you're good enough, we won't send you, because our reputation rides with you. So you want to get out there, impress us with your ability to work.
Yeah, I think it's really key that attendance is a big part of that. I've really been trying to stress that to my intro students as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, next question here. What are some of the different career paths that your students have taken in the past?
So I'm coming in, finishing my third year teaching right now. Going my fourth. So I don't have a mass pool of students, but I can dip into what Mr. Long has and what I have seen and what I've done myself. Like I said, I graduated from the same program. So the career paths are so varied, I can't cover them even in one conversation. There's so much. But what you see a lot of is right off the bat is there's production jobs right off the bat. They hire, you can come right out of school having base knowledge, fundamentals. The different career paths take a lot of students will go into post-secondary, look into getting post-secondary degrees. In welding, it's not really a need for an associate's degree, but they're out there if you want the additional information. If you want to go to 4 years, you're stepping into maybe looking at being an engineer, a welding engineer, or along those lines. I have students who are taking that path. Another big one is, of all things, people don't look at it, but they should, is military. Military, you come out of, I've had 2 students that have already told me that they left my program, went into military and got paid more in the military, and immediately got pushed into a different realm because they had our training. So they actually gave them a better pay and a better scale to work with once they got out there. So military is a really fantastic option for seniors coming out of our program. Short of that, like I said, there's commercial diving schools if you want to do the underwater bit. If you're in my class, we'll talk about that at length. So I have the experience to talk about it. There's anything aerospace work, like sanitary work, you need the food grade operations or multiple companies. A lot of it is the companies you get into. That's where they'll kind of take you. And that's where you'll see the advancement, where you'll see a lot of different things you can do. One companies, like I worked for SWF Industrial for almost 10 years. We did everything. So I got my hands in, like I said, sanitary, from working literally one day, I'm working with a full gowned up, working in a place where they make, medications, and pills, things that you can't even touch physically with your hands, to the next day, literally crawling in soot and dirt, working in a foundry. I mean, one day to the next, so that you can jump across the gamut. And that's part of what this gig is about, is being adaptable and be able to work in different industries.
Okay, sounds good. What are some of the other helpful skills that welders should know other than just welding?
Really what's great about our program is you come out with a real great fundamental skill set you can build on, that most companies are going to teach you a lot of stuff. But the big things I lay on, and we cover some of them, but what I even tell students to always go further on, there's always more you can learn, is layout, learning how to lay out, and estimating what materials. I mean, just no different than if you're going to build a dog house in your yard. We need to estimate your materials. What are they going to cost? How's it long is going to take me to put this together? Learning those skills are very important. Past that, the 2 big things I tell everybody: have a can-do attitude. When boss says, I want you to go do this, well, I'm not sure if I can do it, but I'd love to give it a shot. Like, that's the attitude to have, and you will learn. And then on top of that, always be learning. You never stop learning from day one till the day they bury you. And that's it. To this day, I'm learning something new every day. I'm sure Mr. Stevens can attest. But especially in welding, the people that advance, that keep making more money and keep doing cooler things, are always wanting to learn, and always not afraid to reevaluate what they know and teach and improve on those things.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, employers are really looking for a can-do attitude, and you got to be willing to step up no matter what's thrown at you.
That's right.
What is the salary range, and is there certain types of welding jobs that pay more than others?
Yes. So range is, what's great is right now, because trades are starting to really pick up, even starting at most basic companies. Even our API and co-op guys, you're going to start a lower rate just because companies want to, or know your training. But if you're right out of school, you're talking $15 an hour to start, which that's pretty darn good. McDonald's employees are begging for that. Where we get that to start off the bat, and it goes up very quickly. I have students only a year out there making over $20 an hour a year out of school. That's the low range. I'll give the high range. If you go off, and I consider inspectors and engineers in the same category as welders, that they either were welders, are trained to, or did some of the work, they understand it. You're talking 6 figures. You're talking over 100 grand a year. But that requires time to get there. So there's no one coming out of perm that's going to make 6 figures a year. It just is not going to happen. But the potential is highly there. And I can tell you myself, as an inspector, I enjoy teaching that much that I'm not doing as much inspector work, but when I do work on the side, it's very lucrative. And that's something that's nice to know, that there is more. It's not just, I don't have to go work in a factory and just sit there and weld. You can learn to program robotic welders. You can go back and gain other skills, machining and sheet metal work, stuff that comes with our industry that works hand in hand with us, but you can expand on those and actually make way more money even doing those. So, then those rates just apply whatever company, what they're paying, and whatever skills they're looking for is what they're paying for.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's realistic that students have to have a realistic expectation of how much they're going to be making when they graduate, and they do need to know that it's going to take 5 to 10 years to get up to that top level of pay.
Absolutely.
Okay, and last question here. What is the most important thing that your future students need to know before starting your course next year?
The strongest word, I usually like to boil it down to one word, and I'll expand on it, and that is desire. I can teach anybody how to weld, and that's maybe a cocky statement, or a very bold statement to make, but it's true. We can teach pretty much anyone how to understand the base of welding, even do it. But if you want to do this, your desire to be in my room, your desire to learn, your desire to get better, your desire to self-evaluate, desire to improve upon yourself, even when you're good, you want to get better, desire to always be the next thing you need. Desire is the main word, because I can't teach that. That has to come. You have to come to the room with that. So if you come in with the desire to just show up, to just kind of be there, that's the level at which you'll be taught. If you don't have a desire to be in my room, that is important. The most important thing you'll see to us. I value a student who has a lot of desire, even if he's falling on his face all day, every day. We'll make sure we give that student everything we can to be successful, because of their desire to want to be there and want to learn and get better. By that, they will get better. That I guarantee. But if a desire is not there, if you're just trying to finish out, if you're just showing up to finish out your high school career because you heard going to welding was easy, I don't know who you're talking to, because it's definitely not in my room. We run our room with high expectations. The desire is the big one, but the other expectations are, we want you to show up. We want you to be ready to work. When we tell you to do something, we expect it. When we say no cell phones, that's not a joke. We don't want them. You're not going to be allowed to use them in industry. You're not allowed to have them on you. We're not allowed to have them in a room. We expect you guys to be academically, morally correct. Like, we tell you to do something in a certain position, a certain way, we expect you to do it that way. Our expectation is honesty, and that you're there to work. We can work with everything else, but that's the biggest thing that we see, and is our strongest thing we want to know, is that it's so important that you come with a desire to learn, and you just want to do this. And you may find out you may not want to do this. Our classroom may be a sudden wake-up call going, shoot, I wish I would have picked machining. I wish I would have picked, but once you're in a room, you've got those first 2 weeks to make that decision. We don't take it hard when a student goes, hey, this is my thing. I need to move on to something else. Cool. I'll shake your hand and go, I appreciate your honesty. I'm glad you looked at it that way. But if you're going to stay in our room, understand we're going to expect a lot of you. And we're going to expect you to step up. We're going to expect you to do things. We're going to expect you to ask questions, because there are no stupid questions, just dumb mistakes. Like, that's it in a nutshell. Believe me, I fielded some real zingers. And in the end, I still had to laugh and said, well, this is what you want to do. So we move forward with that. And in doing that, the fun part of our class comes out. You'd be surprised how much you will enjoy our room and what we do, just by the sheer fact is, you guys, we do not hide expectations. We make it very clear in the first week what we want of you as a student. And you will get everything that Mr. Law and I have as instructors. We don't hold anything back. We don't, hold back knowledge. We don't hold you back in any way that we propel you forward. And that's our job to do. So if you come with those important things, desire and showing up and willing to work and listening to what we say and how we're, giving it to you, then believe me, you will be successful. That is a guarantee.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think, you could probably apply that to anything in life, and that would really help with your success.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, one, I'd like to thank all my students that came up with these questions. And also, again, I'd like to thank Mr. Huber for taking some time today to sit down with us.
Sure.
And that concludes the interview here. And until I see everybody next time, have a good day and be safe.